right, it's been a minute. Welcome to the Sobriety Podcast. Let me get this fan real quick. I forgot to turn it off because I was enjoying that music. Anyway, welcome to the Sobriety Podcast. I'm the Sober Heathen. Friend and foe, thanks for listening if you are listening. It's been really inconsistent few weeks, maybe even a couple months now of the podcast. The last full weekend that I went at it and had a bunch of guests, they were phenomenal. I don't know if I could ever compete with those guests and have podcasts like that again. But that comment right there kind of leads into, and it was accidental, kind of leads into where my head's at. Just kind of negative and, not a lot of energy. Had a couple discussions this weekend with Miley. I talked about, I'm going to speak up a little bit here because I'm not sure how loud I'm talking, but had a couple discussions, I feel a sense of boredom with things. The honeymoon phase of the job apparently seems to be over. I still love what I do when I get to do it, but it's a it's a process. You don't just have clients walk in off the street and get to talk to everybody every day. They have to know that you're there, and then the therapists have to get to know you a little bit so they feel comfortable sending people to you, and that is happening. One therapist in particular really likes me and asked me if I was going to go get my master's to do more of what she does. I don't see that happening. I have certain views on the education system, and I don't know that I could make it through certain classes the way things appear to be going. But again, I'm not experiencing that. I'm going from third hand or fourth hand information on that as well. So maybe with a little bit more of an open mind. But as you can see, the brain and thought process and everything is overloaded. But I sent out a tweet today, and it was something odd that came to me while I was laying in bed. Whether it was wallowing in self-pity, however you want to view me not feeling like doing anything or having energy or experiencing any kind of joy. You can label it however you wish. But anyway, I was laying in bed and the thought came to me as like, I want to drink just so I feel something. And I mean, that woke me up, that thought. Because I've been going at it and looking at it, all the treatments that I was in last year, all 4 of them, 3 of them last year. I was always looking for the why. What was I trying to avoid? What was I drinking to escape? And those were always the questions that you got in treatment from therapists. What are you trying to escape? And when I said to myself, because I want to feel something, so now it starts to make me wonder, am I wanting to feel the bad just to feel something? Because that would be the only thing that makes sense, right? So if I want to drink to feel the bad, because that's a feeling, that would still be in line with all the treatment and everything I learned in that. If I wanted to drink to feel good, what would that mean? And how false is that? Because it obviously did feel good, or I wouldn't have started, right? The argument could be made easily that at the end, it certainly was not fun. But it kind of was at the same time. In all honesty, the chase, eating it, hiding it, avoiding, people seeing you bring it into the house, that excitement, you know what I mean? Plenty of people talked about the dopamine hit that you get. We've talked about naltrexone and how that takes away the dopamine hit, and makes it less fun. Those are all interesting things. I don't know, this podcast, it still means so much to me. I just ordered a bunch of shirts to kind of advertise it. Just kind of, and if this podcast is going to be what it was, then I have to do these things and talk about these things. Let's see, today's the 21st, so I am 21 days from 1 year without a drop of alcohol, and to think that was ever possible, a year ago, was mind blowing. I did have that experience when I got the 4th OWI. I did have that experience. Like, I'm done. I'm done. Not the, okay, I'm going to quit. I'm never going to drink again. It's what AA would call, you know, a year ago, it was surrender. I can't do this. I give up. I give up on trying to make drinking work. And that's what happened. Um, but it seems like at the 6 month mark, 6 month and one day, it was a shit show mentally for me. And then now, in this last month, coming up to a year, um, it's the same thing. There's a lot of, so I'm a gamer, right? And I've talked about that before. I have a whole bunch I have World of Warcraft, I have Diablo 4, I have Conan Exiles, I have Path of Exile, I have the Elder Scrolls, all these things on the computer right here, the shortcuts. I'm looking at them right now. And they're all decent games. They're not great, but I find myself finding the bad in all of them and then talking myself out of doing something that I enjoy to do in the evenings or when it's crappy outside, or if I'm just being honest, it's a beautiful day out and I just don't feel like going out in the heat. Those are things that I enjoy. I haven't watched a baseball game in its entirety all year. I watched maybe an hour's worth in total. Baseball was a huge part of my life, the first half of my life. I also posted a video by Gaber Mate, and I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. But it's a really interesting video, and I lost my thought on where I was going with that. But um, he was talking about connection, and in other videos and in AA, you'll hear that, or maybe not AA, but in treatment, I heard connection is the opposite of addiction. And Gaber was saying that um, you're missing that connection. There was a connection that you missed out probably as a child. There was a connection, and that fits me pretty well. Um, you know, Even today, if I'm being honest, there's part of me that wants mommy. As pathetic as that sounds, there's a part of me that would want a relationship with a mother and father figure. My dad is more like an acquaintance and a friend than a father. My great grandmother who raised me, she'll be 99 in 3 months. And so there's real no connection to that typical family, setting or whatever. And I don't know if that's part of it, but anyway, the connection, there was a connection that's missing. And I think I developed a connection with alcohol because alcohol made me feel warm, made me feel good. And I think that's why I chose to go to it so much. And I just think it's all very interesting. And I know I'm probably talking all over the place here, and it's not making any sense. But I'm going to post a video and post this mini podcast, if you will, just to get it out there, just to for anybody that was following and it's like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Is he doing podcasts? And maybe nobody is, but I don't give a fuck. I'm doing it. I already feel better. It wakes me up just looking at the screen and the logo in the background. It feels good to see that thing. I'm very proud of that logo. I didn't create it, but I'm very proud of what the Sober Heathen became. It became something far more enjoyable and meaningful than I ever thought that it would be. But to kind of wrap things up, because I have a taxi coming to take me to work here soon. You know, I've said it before, and I'll say it one more time. If you would have told me a year ago that I would be in this room, in this house, with Miley and her son and her parents, coming around to see the improvements and, the support I get from her sister and her sister's husband, and, being able to see my kids in person a couple weeks ago. And play video games with them. And that if you would have told me a year ago that this would have happened, I would have done anything in that moment to make that happen. So life is phenomenal on the outside. It's just a shit show on the inside up here and maybe in here. But the fight continues. There's things that we can change and there's things that we can't. And I'm going to do my damnedest to focus on what I can and accept the rest, right? We've heard that before. So anyway, if you did check out this podcast, appreciate you. Check out the previous podcast if you missed any in the meantime until we get, I got people and emails that I've left stranded. So if you're one of those people and you hear this and you got a middle finger ready for me, I completely understand. it is not and was not my intention to start the process of talking and getting you on the podcast and then stopping that process. It's in my control, but it's kind of something it's not. Work things are this and that, and inner things are this and that right now, and I'm working on it. So anyway, for those of you that do listen to this, I appreciate your support. And hopefully we can get back to more of these things and more great guests and more talking about what I've learned in this downtime. So off to work I go. Hi ho, hi ho. You guys have a great day. It was great sitting down and being able to chat. Take care.